All right, men, we are in week 4 and we are talking about overcoming our limiting beliefs. So just a quick summary. We all have limiting beliefs. It's hard to rise above and beyond those limiting beliefs, and we never really rise above our own self-perceptions. And so these lies create a ceiling for us and a barrier and a boundary, and they don't allow us to cross. And if we do cross, we don't stay there for a very long time. And what that means is that we really need to smash and destroy these limiting beliefs if we are going to grow and expand in each area of our life. And also inside of our frame, family, faith, fitness, and finances, we can attach a something that's going on that we don't particularly like. We can attach that to a limiting belief that we are actually believing and acting out inside of our behavior. And so we really need to smash those in order to be successful. So that brings us to this week where we learn how to smash them. Before we dive into that, I just want to show you that the ministry of Jesus was all about smashing limiting beliefs. Everything he did, if you read the New Testament with the frame of mind of, let me watch Jesus and let me see how he destroyed the norms. Let me see how he corrected people's misconceptions, and let me see how he challenged people to begin to think differently. And when you read with that frame of mind, you'll just follow this whole thread and narrative that Jesus is really there to destroy all of these limiting beliefs and all of these misconceptions that people had concerning God, concerning himself, concerning life, concerning faith. And all of these different things, he came to smash those misconceptions. So we're going to cover a few here just so we thoroughly grasp. That's what Jesus was about. You know, oftentimes when I speak or do something, you're like, where's that in the Bible? And what we don't thoroughly understand is that, everything good for a holistic life, everything good for recovery was spoken out of the mouth of Jesus, and it comes from the Word of God, right? And so this idea and concept of limiting beliefs is thick inside the Word. So we're going to jump in. Eating with sinners, right? People had this thought and idea that if you are holy, you must be separated, right? And we don't associate with those people. This is the limiting belief. This is the concept and the mindset, right? And Jesus eats with sinners, and all of a sudden he's criticized because he's not living up to their limiting beliefs. Okay, he has different belief system that he is governed by. He's governed by the truth, and so he said that he has not come to clean or to fix the righteous, but he's called to bring the sinners to repentance. And so with those very words, he smashes the limiting belief and the misconception that they had of him, and he replaces it with the truth. We're going to see this common thread, and so this is what we're going to do for ourselves. Healing on the Sabbath day. Said, man, look at this man. He's not supposed to be working. If he were holy, if he were pious, if he were of God, he wouldn't be doing anything on the Sabbath day, right? And Jesus comes and he destroys this misconception and says, you know what, shouldn't people experience freedom on the Sabbath day? If you have the ability to help in the healing process of somebody and it happens to be the Sabbath, aren't you going to take advantage of that opportunity? Whatever day it is, right? And so he smashes and destroys that misconception by challenging the norm, okay? That's what I want to thoroughly point out here is that we have a norm. And we have a limiting belief system of things that we believe. And God comes and he challenges normality. Okay? And its purpose and intention is to break and destroy the limiting beliefs so we can begin to grow and expand. Blessed are the poor. Man. What is the limiting belief like that? Only people that are blessed are the wealthy, right? Those are the elite. Those are the people that are blessed. Those are the people that got it well in this earth and all of these different things. And Jesus comes with a different paradigm and smashes it and saying, you know what, actually blessed are the poor in spirit, those who are humble, right? And then he said, blessed are the hungry. You know, our limiting belief that you must be fully satisfied and all of these different things in your life in order to achieve fulfillment, not understanding that it is the hunger. It is the hunger that causes us to seek, right? And that is, if you didn't have any hunger, if you didn't have any thirst, you would in no way begin to rise up and begin to seek fulfillment. It is those very needs that causes us to seek and to pursue, right? And so this paradigm of being fat and well taken care of and not hungry and not experiencing any turmoil or any of that just leaves us in a state of stupor where we don't begin to seek. God knows this. So he smashes the misconception. Is actually, blessed are those who are hungry, right? And thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Love your enemies. Now, the misconception or the limiting belief was you hate your enemies, and every opportunity you get a chance, you make sure that you bury and you destroy your enemies. And he comes with a new thought, a new paradigm, and says, whoa, hold up, wait a minute, okay? We are to love our enemies. And he gives us a new thought, a new paradigm, a new belief system that destroys the old. And the two are definitely incongruent. They can't mix with each other. I can't love my enemies and seek to do him harm at the same time, right? And so he comes with these thoughts and ideas. The next one is, whoever is your servant is the greatest, right? They were all talking about who was going to be great inside of the kingdom, who was going to sit on the right hand and the left, and they were all jockeying for position and power and recognition, probably for the ego, so they can inflate their pride, so they can feel worthy and all of these different things. And he's like, hey, you know, the world system, it operates in this pattern, that those who are rulers, they exercise authority over their people. And he said, it should not be so among you. And so he takes his paradigm and he smashes it and destroys it and delivers a new paradigm. As that this is the way it's supposed to operate. If you want to be great, then you're going to have to be the servant. If you want to achieve what you are looking for, then it comes through humility and it comes through actual service. And man, that is an ultimate paradigm destroyer right there. God has come to destroy men's lives. This is a false limiting belief that the people had during this day, and he corrects them and says, hey, the Son of Man has not come to destroy men's life, but to save them. And he gives this lesson to his disciples because they went through a certain village and some certain things happened, and his disciples said, do you want us to call fire down from heaven and consume them, like burn them up, right? He's like, man, you don't even know what kind of spirit you are of. And so he challenges their limiting belief so they can begin to correct it and begin to align themselves with the truth. And the truth was that you don't understand what you're talking about, because the Son of Man has not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. He goes on, when you pray, like Jesus, this would be so exhaustive if I begin to look at every single thing Jesus said to begin to destroy the limiting beliefs and the paradigms. It would take a long time. So I'm going to cover a couple more. But this one is prayer. He said, when you pray, don't use long words like the heathen do, because they think they'll be heard for their much speaking, right? And so the limiting belief and the concept during this time was that prayer involved a prolonged discourse of just rambling and speaking and all of these different things. And so he breaks the misconception and says, when you pray, don't be like them, okay? You have this belief and this mindset of what prayer is, and I've come to break it, right? And that is that your Heavenly Father knows what you have need of before you even ask Him, and let your words be few, and all of these different things that He instructs us. And don't go out in the public, right? Make it a private endeavor. Don't stand on the street corners, and have your intentions purified, and all these different things. So He smashed those misconceptions concerning prayer. He did this with fasting. He did this with giving. He did this with so many things. And this is here's another powerful one, is that he said that he beheld Satan fall from the sky, and he said, behold, I give unto you power. So these two things. We have this limiting belief that the enemy is reigning and that he is somehow in a position of power, not understanding that he has been stripped of power and he's been stripped of all authority. And his right and his dominion is being crushed and destroyed. And Jesus says, behold, I give unto you power, right? Now, this is the ultimate paradigm shift because, people thought that, the evil influence, that it was powerful and it was dualistic, and that it was an equal opposition force to God, and that all of that stuff is not reality, right? That he is crushed, he is destroyed, he is cast down, and he is put under our feet. Now, when we look at that, we say, evil should be put under the feet of Jesus, and he conquered and overcome, destroyed, and all those things. But the actual truth is that he's been put under your feet. Okay? So you see all these misconceptions, and I'll bring one more, because I did way too many here. The misconception that Jesus had come to bring peace on the earth, right? And we know that he is coming to bring a kingdom of peace that shall rule and reign and will have no end, and all these different things. But understanding his first coming was not to bring peace, but division, he said. And that is that his message is going to be so divisive, and that it was going to turn father against the son, and son against the daughter, and all these different things would begin to happen inside of the family because the message that he was speaking, right? And so if the reality is if that, like, Jesus didn't break any misconceptions, and he just decided to go with the flow and preach what is common to the day, tickle their ears, make them feel all good about themselves, they never would have tried to crucify him, right? During his first sermon, he offended them so much they tried to throw him off a cliff, okay? And that's what we're dealing with here is God manifested in the flesh and beginning to challenge all of our misconceptions, and this caused a lot of people to be extremely angry. Okay, mostly angry because he really defined who the people of God were. The people of God who thought they were the people of God, who thought they were holy and righteous and all of these different things. He looked at their lives and he told his followers that if you want to enter the kingdom of heaven, your righteousness must exceed all of these people, right? So he broke the misconception that these were the people of God, when actuality, these were, okay? So everything that he did was to break the limiting beliefs and break the misconceptions that were taking place in his world. So the disciples, they got into a boat with Jesus. And as they were taking this trip, Jesus went down and went to sleep in a certain part of the boat. And during that time, a storm arose, and they were in panic. They were greatly afraid for their lives. And they began to get filled with fear. And panic began to set in. And they begin to look for Jesus and begin to ask him what is going on, right? And the words that they use really signify their heart. And it was, do you not even care that we are perishing? So these two beliefs that they had in the storm, two beliefs that we read, that Jesus was asleep at the wheel, and that he did not care about what they were going through. And these are the misconceptions and the limiting beliefs that we really face, especially when we're going through the storm, right? And people have mocked, during this COVID crisis and asked, where is your God now? Like, why would he cause this, or why would he allow this? And the ultimate accusation is that he's somehow asleep at the wheel, misconception one, and misconception two, that he doesn't even care about what is taking place in the world today, right? And so it is with us, is that we experience these painful moments, and all of a sudden these lies begin to creep in, is that God doesn't care about me anymore, and that Jesus is asleep at the wheel, okay? And that he is not governing or stirring the boat in a manner that is going to be smooth sailing for me, right? And so we have these two accusations here. Not only that, but they're like, man, we're going to die. All of these were narratives and stories that were placed inside of their head. And Jesus wakes up and he destroys their misconceptions, right? He destroys where responsibility lies, and he asks, where is your faith? Now, they were pushing the responsibility for the miracle of the situation on him, and he pushes it right back on them and says, where is your faith? And he stands up and he rises in his authority and he takes control of the situation. And it's almost like, hey, you've been with me so long and you don't know how this thing operates. Begin to rise and begin to stand in your authority and begin to exercise your faith. Okay? Now, faith was not, I'm dying. God doesn't care about me anymore. He's asleep at the wheel. It wasn't all these limiting beliefs that were going on in their head. It was shattering those beliefs, rising up in their authority and begin to exercising their faith. That is what the whole lesson is about. So Jesus begins to share at a certain moment about his crucifixion, when he's going to die, and the suffering that he is going to face, right? And he shares this in the presence of Peter. And Peter begins to pull him aside and begins to rebuke him strongly, okay? And saying that this situation is never going to happen to you, right? Far be it from you, Lord. And can you imagine for a moment beginning to pull God aside and begin to criticize and to rebuke him, right? But Peter's conception is this, that Jesus is the Messiah. He just confessed it before this scenario took place. He knew who Jesus was, right? He was sent to be the Savior of the world. And in their concept, in their idea, the Messiah meant ruling as a king, ruling and reigning, and bringing your enemies into submission under your feet. So he had this limiting belief of what Jesus was and how this scenario is going to play out. We do this all the time. We have misconceptions, and we have ideas, and we have expectations of how things are going to be and how they're going to lay out. And of course, they don't meet our expectations, right? And they don't happen the way that we think. So Jesus begins to set him straight. And that is, he said, far be it, right? Get behind me. You are not thinking about the things of God. You're thinking about the things of man. And what he was saying is that your belief system and your paradigm is rooted in humanity and thinking about the man system and the fleshly ways and all of these different things, right? And so he destroys the misconception, he deals with the problem, and he challenges the belief. And when he challenges the belief, he replaces it with the truth. Now, all of this process is the way that Jesus' ministry worked. It is the way that he operated, okay? And he's constantly was destroying these misconceptions. He did this, in Lazarus dying. People knew Jesus as the resurrection and the life. And their misconception was that, some way in the future day, he was going to resurrect people and they were going to come to life and all of these different things, that it was some future day. And so they had this concept and belief in their mind about Jesus and what he was able to do, right? And when he showed up on the scene, they said, if you had been here, he wouldn't have died, right? And what that means is that they didn't fully grasp the situation. They didn't really know that he was the resurrection life in reality. And so he breaks their limiting belief and causes it, and really demonstrates who he really is, and begins to demonstrate that he is the resurrection and life right now. Okay? So in all of these situations, and like I said, I can go on and on. I just flipped through the New Testament real quick and speed read to grab some of these that I've seen, but they go on and on and on and on. The reality is this. What Jesus did in the New Testament and broke all of these misconceptions and replaced it with the truth is his activity and what he wants to begin to do inside of our life. And that is our beliefs, our limiting beliefs,
that are keeping us stuck, we must allow them to be challenged. And that is that we're not going to be fearful when they begin to be challenged. We're not going to revert back to insecurity and get scared and try to hold on to these limiting beliefs because they're comfortable. We're going to say, I understand God's purpose and intention in my life is to begin to destroy these things that are limiting me. And that I'm going to allow this process to take place. And I'm going to yield to His activity that is taking place in my life. Now, why should I do this? First of all, this is the way change is created. We are transformed. Remember, we talked about this before. We are transformed by the renewing of our mind. And that is the smashing and the challenging of these limiting beliefs and replacing with the truth. Okay? And so the change that we want comes through this challenge of this transformation. You know, it wasn't very comfortable for Peter to be rebuked in such fashion, right? But it's kind of nice that he had the security and the safety to actually communicate his limiting beliefs. So they're brought out on the table and so they could be challenged, right? And I find that to be very key here in this situation, that you have people, mentors and people that you are safe with, that you can begin to communicate, and they can begin to see clearly your limiting beliefs and kind of mirror them back to you so you can see them, right? Because a lot of times we can't see our own mess. Like, a lot of times they need to be challenged by other people. So get around other people that you're safe with, that you can begin to communicate with, and so these things can begin to be challenged inside of us. This is the what is true, what was written, iron sharpens iron. Okay? So, first of all, the reason why we want to go through this process is that's the change that we seek. And also, to end suffering. We are suffering not by so much of what happens to us, but by our perception, by our opinion, and by our limiting beliefs about what is happening to us, okay? And the pain that we are experiencing is not so much by what had taken place in our past. We may have been abused by our parents, right? And the fact of the matter is that the abuse is over and all these different things. Now, the thing that causes us to stay in this suffering is our limiting beliefs concerning the situation, our opinion, and mostly it's about why it happened, right? And when we're young, we come up with all kinds of reasons why it happened. It's because I'm not worthy. It's because I'm not acceptable. It's because I'm not loving. I'm not worthy of love, and all of these things. And we develop all of this abandonment and all this traumatic issues based upon the lies that we are speaking inside of our mind. And this is the limiting belief that keeps us stuck. So our pain and our suffering, if you want to read more about that, this is How to Stop the Pain. And it will show you how your judgments and your opinion about things is actually what keeps you in that cycle and keeps you stuck. One of the foundational books for any sort of growth and development. It's not my book. I wish it was. Dr. James Richard. Okay. So it's going to end our suffering if we begin to challenge these limiting beliefs. And what we're going to do, number 3, is it's going to bust the legs that this false belief stands on, okay? As we go through this process, as we begin to challenge, we allow ourselves to be challenged, the evidence for these negative beliefs begin to be cut off. And so I'm going to go into detail on how this happens. And pay very close attention. You begin to identify a negative belief. It is limiting you. It's causing you to be mediocre, and it's causing you to live in fear and insecurity in some way. Okay, and you could spot this by the area of your life that brings you the most discomfort, the most dissatisfaction. It's the area that you're thinking about. It's the area that you're saying, man, if I could be free from this, I would be a rock star for God. Like, I would just like be awesome and amazing for God. That area, okay? Within there's multiple limiting beliefs. There's multiple things that you're saying to yourself before you participate in this activity. There's multiple different things that you are saying to yourself, okay? Now, when those thoughts and those beliefs come up, or they're challenged by another person, you need to ask yourself, do you know with 100% certainty that this belief is absolute truth? Right? And let me bring it back home into an example that Christian men face with pornography and masturbation, right? We give justifications to why we're doing it, right? I'm stressed out and I just need comfort, right? Or I just need to self-soothe myself, or this, that, and the other thing, right? Whatever the narrative is. And what it all comes down to is questioning that thought and saying, do I know with absolute certainty that what I'm saying to myself is absolute truth? Okay? When I begin to quit smoking, one of the lies I was telling myself is that I deserve this, right? And so before I would go into the activity, the narrative would begin to start is that I deserve this, right? And clear as I'm speaking to you right now, I didn't hear audible, but this very strong impression that says, no, you deserve much better, right? And it was God just really manifesting and really destroying the limiting belief that I was telling myself. Because what we're telling ourselves is what is keeping us in the activity. And that is that I need this to comfort myself. I need this because I deserve this, right? And we do this with alcohol, we do this with marijuana, pills, drugs, masturbation, pornography, all of these different things that bring us a lot of shame. And we say, I need this to feel comfortable and I deserve this. Now, I'm not quite sure what you are saying to yourself, but I can guarantee you, if you ask yourself, is what I'm thinking right now, am I 100% certain that is absolute truth? In fact, when we say that these things are going to bring us comfort, it's actually a delusion. They bring us more discomfort. We get more sick with ourselves. Causes us to respect ourselves less. And the comfort that we think that we're getting, we're actually multiplying our discomfort in the source of shame and guilt and lack of respect for ourselves and all of these different things, right? And it keeps us in a state of feeling like we're disqualified, right? And so all of these things is the reality of what is taking place. So the next question is, how might this lie, how might this narrative that I'm telling myself be detrimental, right? Now think about this with Peter. He had a lie about Jesus and that he shouldn't go to the cross, right? How might his belief be detrimental? What if he was motivated in some fashion to make sure that it didn't happen, right? Now all of a sudden he would find himself in opposition against God. And so this idea and this belief, if it was played out to its ultimate conclusion, would be very detrimental for him. And so it is with us, that we have opinions, we have thoughts and ideas. We are not certain of their 100% truth, right? And we know this deep inside. We know that there's there's reasonable doubt within the narrative that we're saying. And thinking about how this is going to be detrimental to me, or what kind of fruit right now is it currently manifested in my life? Every time that I succumb to this situation, or every time I believe this story and narrative, and I give in to temptation, and I say, you know what, I can't help myself, and we just hook, line, sinker to all of these lies, right? And of course, afterwards, just more guilt and more shame, more mediocreness, more not standing in your authority, more not rising, and all these different things that begin to take place in our life. And we see the fruit, okay? Be honest about the fruit. Be honest that we know it's not absolute truth that we're saying, and we know the fruit of it and how it is detrimental to our life. This brings us to acknowledging that this belief is not actually getting you the results that you would like. okay? And this is coming out of delusion. This is facing reality and looking at the truth and willing to be honest with yourself that this is not getting me the results that I like. The next one is begin to look at the evidence to discredit the belief. Okay? Behind every temptation, there is a lure. It's much like fishing, right? The bait, the lure, the thing that looks pretty, the shiny object, right? And we understand that with fishing, what this accomplishes, right? It accomplishes for the fish to be on the hook. And basically for the fish to become victimized and become dinner, okay? And this is the same reality that happens. It looks beautiful. It looks shiny. It looks like it's going to meet your need. And it's going to solve your problem. And you're going to receive relief. And you're going to receive comfort. And everything's going to be okay. When we begin to bust down the evidence of that statement. Is it going to bring me comfort? Boom, one leg gone. We know it's not. Is this going to increase my guilt and shame? Absolutely. Boom, another leg is gone. Is this going to cause me to walk in my authority with God? No. Boom, another leg gone. Is this going to catapult me into my purpose and my destiny? Boom, another leg gone. Now all of a sudden this lie has no truth to stand on. There is nothing that this statement can stand on. And that's what we want to do, is begin to look for evidence to discredit this limiting belief. It goes something like this. I'm worthless. I'm good for nothing, right? Is that belief true 100% of the time? Is this absolute truth that I am worthless and I am good for nothing? And then begin to look at that. Probably not. That's probably not 100% truth. What kind of fruit is this manifesting in my life if I believe this or I continue to believe this? Well, if I'm worthless and I'm good for nothing, then I'm going to go ahead and continue to do worthless and good for nothing things, okay? Now we establish the consequence of the continued belief, okay? So I am acknowledging that this belief is not really 100% truth, and I see the results that it's getting, and I'm going to acknowledge that it's not getting really the results that I like. Now I'm going to begin to discredit this belief. In what ways am I awesome? In what ways am I good at something, right? And the reality is that everybody is good at something. Now at the current moment, as you're beating yourself up, you're not thinking about these things. But as you begin to look for evidence, you are going to find all the reasons why you are amazing and you are worthy, okay? And this is really an amazing process. Destroy the evidence, okay? Show all the ways that you are amazing and that you are awesome, and that what you're doing is discrediting the evidence of the limiting belief. So what is the flip side of the belief? Now this is where we begin to look at the positive aspects, right? So as we discredit the limiting belief of I'm worthless and I'm good for nothing, what we begin to do is begin to state the flip side belief in what ways am I good? What ways am I worthy, right? And you begin to actually think about these things, and what you're doing is building up evidence for the contrary, right? You've destroyed the negative evidence and you bust down the limiting belief, and you turn it on the flip side and you start telling your brain to supply evidence to the contrary. Right? You don't ask it to say all the ways that you are worthless and unworthy, right? Because then that sends your brain down a computing pattern of giving you information that confirms your limiting belief. What you're going to ask your brain is begin to confirm the ways and all the ways that you're worthy and that you're amazing and that you're not a piece of crap, right? And then those things begin to compute and begin to come to surface. And they come to surface with evidence, with reality, and that is that I am not a worthless piece of crap because of this, and begin to list them out. And this is the actual evidence to support the new belief. It goes like this. I am not able. I can't do this, right? Is this absolute 100% truth that you can't do this? Well, no. Maybe there might be a possibility that I could. What is the detriment of believing that you can't? Well, you're not going to rise up and you're not going to even try, right? Because you are under the illusion that you can't do this. What kind of fruit is that going to give in your life? Nasty fruit. You're not going to like the results. It's going to be mediocre, right? And so you thoroughly acknowledge that that belief of I can is not going to get you the results that you are looking for. Then you come into the realm of now I'm going to seek evidence to confirm that I am able. Well, God says that I am an overcomer. And it also says that he will cause me to triumph. And all of these different things. It also says that I can begin to rely on him and he can empower me to accomplish great things. So now all of a sudden I got all of this evidence. It discredits the limiting belief and I'm going to say what? I am able. I am able is the positive belief. And how am I able? Because God is present with me. Because he will work in and through me. And all of these different things. And you begin to build up evidence to support the positive belief. And you begin to confirm it. This is how it works, brothers. And this is the battle that we are engaged in. And we have to take this seriously. And we have to do the process. And we have to go through these and begin to, you know what? When a limiting belief comes up, I'm going to challenge it. And I am going to call it out. It's much like the game BS. I don't know if you've ever played this game. But it's a bluffing game. Where each person takes his turn and try to bluff his way through it. And if you feel like they are lying, you call BS on them and they either show the evidence or they don't, okay? And this is what begins to happen inside of our minds with these limiting beliefs that they come up. And we need to call them out. And we need to challenge them, okay? And if we don't challenge them, then we are going to experience the nasty fruit that they are developing inside of our lives. But we got to call them out. We got to stop this. And this is the way the process works. So I'm glad I brought you through all of this stuff. But all of this stuff is to bring us to the conclusion to use this. Use this systemized way of what I've just laid out to you. If you didn't grab it, roll it back again and write it down. And pay attention to what I'm saying here because this is what is going to free you from this limiting beliefs, these opinions, and these mindsets, and this perspective that is not based upon any form of reality. All right, brothers, I'm excited about the next lesson. I'll see you soon. Peace.